meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. All members are present except Member Thomas. We'll then move on to approval of the agenda. We have one addition. 7H, approve resolution 2015-80, authorizing execution of grant agreement.
Correct.
And did you say 7G was being scratched?
Right.
Okay, 7G, the pay voucher for Stearns County Beltline is being removed. Is there any other changes to the agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the agenda with those changes?
So moved.
We have a motion by Heidi, second.
I'll second.
Second by Diane. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. We have the approval of the minutes of the October 7th, 2015 regular meeting. Are there any changes, corrections, clarification that needs to be done? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the October 7th, 2015 regular meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Diane,
Second.
second by Heidi. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4 in favor, none against. Now is our public open forum. This is the point where anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the council other than with the public hearing that we have later tonight. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Third and final time, is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Seeing no one, our public open forum is now closed. We will then move on to our public hearing. We will recess the normal council meeting and open the public hearing. We have a public hearing before us this evening regarding the 3-2 off-sale liquor license application for Isaac's North Star Incorporated. It is our intention that everyone has the opportunity to be heard. If you wish to speak, please sign in on the sign-up sheet at the back of the room. The procedure is as follows. Presentation by staff, followed by questions of staff. Then we will have public input. Raise your hand. When recognized by the mayor, approach the podium and state your name and address for the record. State your comments and position. No one will be allowed to speak a second time until everyone has had a chance to be heard. First, we will hear questions for clarification. Then we will have, secondly, public in favor of the proposal, and then public speaking against the proposal. After everyone who wishes to speak has had the opportunity to be heard, the hearing will be closed. After closure of the public hearing, the council will deliberate and take action as appropriate. Members of the audience do not participate in the council's discussion unless a majority of the council concedes to hear additional information or questions. The hearing is now in session. Vicki?
Okay, this public hearing tonight is to consider the issuance of a 3-2 off-sale license. This would be a permit to sell a 3-2 beer at a retail establishment, and in the past we've had Coburn's grocery store actually had a 3-2 license. They did not elect to renew it this last year, but that's what they had in the past. This request is from Isaac's North Star, which is located at 925 Sinclair Lewis Avenue. Granting of the license would authorize the owner to sell 3-2 off sale, and our city code requires new liquor locations within the city require a public hearing by the council to hear comments of the public before we can grant the license. We did advertise a legal publication in the Herald stating that the meeting would be held tonight at 6:30 or shortly thereafter. We have received the application, the public hearing fee, the license fee, the completed background check, the Form 9011, which is the state form, and the workers' compensation documents. And you will see the application in more detail on page 27 of your packet. That actually lists the insurance company company and the information on the owners and also the signature by the police chief on the background. So what we need to do tonight is to open it up for any public comment for anybody that may have questions or concerns on the issuance of a 3-2 off-sale license at Isaac's North Star.
Questions from the council, staff? Okay, hearing none from the councilors. I'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone here that would like to speak? Go up to the podium, please. State your name and address.
My name is Isaac Winters. I represent Isaac's North Star in Sauk Center. Address is 925 Sinclair Lewis Avenue, Sauk Center, Minnesota 56378. I have some handouts if you'd like for ease when I'm
You
going
can bring
through.
them up if you want, yes. That's fine.
Geez, I got two. I must be really important.
I have a couple reasons why we're applying for the 3-2 off-sale license. Number one is to generate more customer traffic, which in turn increases sales and profitability. 2, provide ease and accessibility for traveling customers coming through and from Sauk Center. And for 3, our main reason to bring in another highly demanded profitable item is in pull tabs. To explain reason 1, we're going to generate more customer traffic and thus increasing sales and profits. This will bring in another item into the store that hasn't been there and bring variety and a new product that could bring in more people, thus increasing sales. Second reason is to provide ease and accessibility for customers and especially traveling customers. For example, in the summer, if there are people are going out vacationing or to their cabin, they are leaving town, they go to Walmart and they shop or Coburn's, and then they're getting gas, they leave and they say, shoot, I forgot, I don't have any beer or something. They can come inside and get some, and that way they're not going to their destination and then going to probably a different town's liquor store or off-sale store. So that would just really help with ease and accessibility for our customers. And then our third reason and main reason is to bring this in is because of a highly demanded profitable item, which is pull tabs. Since taking over North Star in 2013, customers and clubs have strongly demanded for pull tabs. The reason I'm bringing this up with a 3-2 off-sale beer license is because it ties with a pull tabs vending machine, which we'd like to achieve. And to get a pull tabs vending machine, you need to have some sort of liquor license, and 3-2 beer covers that. And this way it would be, we'd be able to meet some demands from customers, and with that, it'd bring in more profits and sales for ourselves, but also bring in profits to these nonprofit group or organization, such as the fire department, conservation club, or another willing club. With that, North Star wants to partly give back to the community because we expect good revenues from pull tabs, which would then generate more funds for these club, thus helping the community and building good relationships. In conclusion, providing North Star with a 3-2 off-sale liquor license will generate more customer traffic, thus increasing sales and profits. It'll help with ease and accessibility for traveling customers coming through and from Sauk Center. And with this, it'll be able to bring in a pull tab, or the plan is to bring in a pull tab vending machine to generate more sales, not only for us, but to maximize it for a nonprofit organization and as the city. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions of Isaac?
I just wanted to thank him for explaining what nonprofit club was going to benefit. I had no idea. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak in favor or against the proposal? Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor or against the proposal? Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor or against the proposal? Seeing none, unless the council has any questions, this public hearing is now closed. We will take action later on in the agenda, and we will reopen the regular council meeting. Reports and presentations, bond refunding.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. I placed in front of you two handouts. One I'll focus on for this presentation says bond sale results at the top. And a month ago, I met with you regarding this refunding bond issue. This is a bond or a consolidated refunding for two existing bond issues, the 2007A bonds, which are to finance City Hall, and the 2008A bonds, which were for Ash Street. In your packet as well, for later on in your agenda, is the consideration of a resolution. Approval of that resolution would lock in the rates and terms that I'll hit the highlights on right now. On page 2 of this handout is a summary table, and I'll focus, if you will, on the right-hand column, the total column. The total of the consolidated bond issue is $2,185,000, and working our way down to net debt service reduction, you can see that's $239,473. So when I was here a month ago, that figure was approximately $226,000. I wouldn't recommend council saying, okay, George, you're getting better every month, come back next month. Tonight actually is the consideration of this refunding bond. But so as part of this refunding process, Vicki is becoming very familiar with bond rating calls. We did that not long ago for your new money needs for Center Street and the Beltline bonds earlier, as well for this bond issue. And again, so that bond rating call was with Standard & Poor's. They reassigned the city's AA- bond rating, which is a very good credit. Couple of highlights from that rating process. They note the good financial policies of the city, strong budgetary performance, and good available general fund reserves. Those are three things in combination with you get credit for being part of the St. Cloud metropolitan area. So those all factor into the assignment of your AA- bond rating. And again, the summary that you see on that page, $239,000 approximately of overall savings. That's a net savings that's realized over the remaining term of the bonds, and that's net of any cost of doing business, financing, legal, bond rating costs, et cetera. So very strong results. Your timing is good in terms of the market and interest rates available now. So Mayor, Council, I'd certainly help you with any questions you might have.
Questions?
Should we have him come back next month?
Should we have him come back next
Next
month?
month?
Yes. He probably will be here next month.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
But it won't be for this issue. No, it looks fine with me. It's, you know, it's an increase in the savings, which is what we were initially looking for and thought it was prudent to do. So, no one has any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, George.
Thank you.
Police Department monthly reports. Brian?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Activity report for September 2015. Some of the numbers we can talk about are we had 5 alarm calls. We had 1 K-9 assist for other agency, 19 assists for other agencies, 6 child custody issues, 15 citizen contacts, 3 fifth-degree controlled substance arrests, 8 dog complaints, 8 driving on a revocated or suspended license tickets, 7 driving complaints, 6 arrests for small amount of marijuana. We had 4 gas no pays, 8 juvenile problems, 21 matter of informations, 23 medicals, 9 accidents, 15 school patrol, 21 suspicious activity calls. We had 5 thefts. We had 4 unwanted person calls. We gave out 273 verbal warnings. We had 10 welfare checks. Total activity for the month was 620. ICRs or calls were 347, verbal warnings 273. Compare that to August, we were up, or down, I should say, 26 calls, and down on warnings 71, and down on total of 97. When we compare that to 2014, we're about 9 calls up from that year, 37 warnings up, and 46 for calls, so pretty similar to 2014. Otherwise, that's all I have for September.
Questions?
I'd just like to comment, I read in the paper about that drug bust on I-94, I think, or wherever it was, with
Yep.
Sonny and Joe Jensen.
Yeah.
Great work.
Yeah, that was
Excellent.
very good rest there.
Excellent.
Yep.
At one point in time, we were looking for a new part-time officer. Or
Correct.
Where do we stand with that?
I'm sorry, I should have brought that up. Apologize for that. That gentleman ended up getting a job in another city shortly after we hired him. He called me the next day and said, well, now another city was looking at him for full-time. Then I waited a week or a couple of weeks, and then he ended up getting that job. So now I'm kind of have cut some names in the hat, and I'm going to get those together and pick from them, and we'll go from there again.
Okay, so we'll still share with Melrose though?
I don't know if we'll end up sharing that one with Melrose,
Okay,
to be honest with you.
all right.
So,
Okay.
yep.
Anything else, Council? Thank you, Brian.
All right, thank you.
Planning Commission report, Sarah?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In your packet, you have a copy of our agenda. We had a pretty short meeting last week. We had no public hearings. The reports and presentations, there's a copy of the August and September building permit reports. And then we worked on some new business, possibly developing some kind of registering business program. And then we also looked at the fee schedule, and specifically in variances, and then when people apply for multiple variances. And then also, there's just some additional GTS educational opportunities still in October and November.
Questions? Can you give us a little more explanation on the registered business program?
Sure. We're just looking at developing it now, and it'll come to the council, I believe, but we're going to bring it back to the November meeting because some of the members wanted to see it a little more, what it would look like. We just want a business registration. I want to use it for zoning purposes so that when someone wants to start a business in town, we don't have anything that we don't license businesses per se. I mean, we have liquor licenses and cigarette licenses, but that's not, doesn't help me in planning and zoning. And so if they come in, we do get a lot of phone calls, and staff takes a lot of calls about, I want to start a new business in town, what do I need to do? Well, unless they get a sign permit or a remodeling permit, I have no idea what type of business they're going to be doing. And sometimes it's after the fact that things go wrong. So if we can and I want to keep the form simple. It's like a $25 one-time fee, and that, just ask some basic questions, and also square footage, so that we can also use some of the information for EDA planning and, maybe some other business outreach, things later on. But we don't want to be too intrusive in their business, and we don't want to overwhelm them with more paperwork.
Okay.
So, any other questions?
Well, guess not. Thank you, Sarah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Personnel Finance Committee report.
The Personnel and Finance Committee met on Monday, October 12th. They reviewed various items on behalf of the council. As you recall, at the last council meeting, you sent things to them to review. The four main items, they did review the stormwater utility rates. They do have a recommendation on that. That's your action item later tonight on action item 7E. They reviewed the franchise fees, including gas and electric, and they recommend a revisit of the electric franchise fee, and that's an unfinished business item tonight. They reviewed the cleaning contract, and they're recommending update of duties and review with the contractor. And then on the building official, they recommend that contract with the building official to come in with the one that's been working with our existing one, and that'll be at a later meeting as well. So you do have two items this evening on 7E and 8A on the stormwater utility and the electric. Anybody have any questions?
Questions? Just for the public's notice, the Personnel Finance Committee consists of myself and Dave Thomas. So, okay, with that, we will move on to our action items. Approve Resolution 2015-75, 3-2 off-sale liquor license.
This is the action to issue the 3-2 liquor license to Isaac's North Star. It is Resolution 2015-75, approving the issuance of a 3-2 off-sale liquor license to Isaac's North Star Incorporated at 925 Sinclair Lewis Avenue.
You have the application with all the information on it and also Chief Fredericks' signature. Is there any questions or comments? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve resolution number 2015-75, approving the issuance of a 3-2 off-sale liquor license to Isaac's North Star Incorporated at 925 Sinclair Lewis Avenue?
So moved.
We have a motion by Keith. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Heidi. Any other questions or comments? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. Approve Resolution 2015-76, authorizing sale of bonds.
This is the formal action that you would take to issue the refunding bonds that George spoke of just a few minutes ago. It's Resolution 2015-75, and actually I got an updated one today after the bond sale, filling in those blanks that are in there regarding the years and the amounts. So it'd be 2015-75, providing for the issuance and sale of the general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2015B.
I don't know if that's a typo. Is it 2015-75 or 76? On the agenda, it says 76, and 75 was the approval of liquor license.
Oh, it's 76.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Questions?
That changes everything.
I'm just clarifying.
Very good, Kat. No questions or comments? Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2015-76, providing for the issuance and sale of general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2015B?
So moved.
Motion by Keith, second by Heidi. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. Approved professional services agreement, racetrack redevelopment.
The EDA, at its regular meeting on October 7th, they met with Heidi Pepper of SEH on a proposal to provide grant writing assistance to the city to obtain funding for redevelopment of the racetrack property. The proposal by SEH is that grant writing services will be done at no fee, provided that if a grant is successful and is funded, that the city will enlist the services of SEH to conduct the next phase of planning and engineering of the project. So basically, you know, they're going to do all the grant writing for us, and if they are successful and we receive funding, then we hire their firm to do the engineering for the project. This project is envisioned to take several steps involving a variety of funding opportunities. The first, which you're going to talk about tonight, is to apply for a grant to conduct a Phase 1 environmental study. This will be done in conjunction with Felling Trailers as the owner of the other half of the property. Once the Phase 1 study and potentially Phase 2, the EDA will then proceed with other redevelopment grant applications. That grant writing will also be done at no cost, providing the city contract with SEH to do the planning and engineering. So the city council will be the actual entity that enters into the agreement with SEH and not the EDA, because it's the city council that does that. I do have in the packet the scope of services that was provided by SEH that kind of gives into a little bit more detail about what we're planning to do out there. And so this is the first part of two approvals I'm going to ask of you. One is the agreement to enlist the services of SEH according to that scope of services. So that is this action right now is to approve the agreement with SEH to provide the grant writing, planning, and engineering for the racetrack redevelopment according to the scope of services presented.
Questions? Comments? I know Keith and I serve on the EDA, so we've been through this, so anyone else has got any concerns? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agreement with SEH to provide grant writing, planning, engineering for the racetrack redevelopment project?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion by Diane. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Any other questions or concerns? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. That brings us to approve resolutions 2015-77, authorizing application for grant assistance.
This grant that we are talking about is the EDA, the Phase 1 grant, and this is a contamination cleanup grant program. And how that would work is if we are successful and funded, which is 75% funded by the state and 25% funded by us and Felling Trailers. And what they'll do, the Phase 1 basically is a research on paper type research of everything that has occurred out on that property in the past. And once you get through the Phase 1, based on the results of that, they determine, do we need to go to Phase 2, which is actually on-site soil borings and that. So they'll look at the history of how the property was used for Phase 1. And so we're looking for that grant. And then if Phase 1 shows that we need to go to Phase 2, there would be a second part of the grant. So that's what we're asking for tonight, is just to authorize the application for grant assistance. The application deadline for this, I believe, is November 2nd, so we're actually already working on it. So that's Resolution 2015-77.
Yes. Comments? Questions? Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2015-77, authorizing the application for grant assistance?
I'll make the motion.
Motion from Diane, second.
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Any other questions? Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. 7E, approve ordinance amending stormwater utility rate.
After review of the stormwater utility fee and the other revenue sources, the Finance Committee recommends that the City Council consider revising the fee structure for the stormwater utility. They are recommending changes to increase the base rate by $1 and the secondary rate by 25 cents. This will increase a projected revenue in about $3,100 per month. And they're projecting that go into effect January 1st, 2016. In the box is actually what the city code currently states, and you can see what the change is. So one REU would be like a residential home, so a residential home would go up $1. The secondary rate that would go up by 25 cents is for businesses that have more than 10 REUs. Each of those additional REUs would go up by 25 cents. I did put a chart in your packet showing the current and the proposed, what the fee structure looks like. We have 2,062 residential REUs. We have 660 commercial ones at the base rate and 1,600 at the secondary rate. So you see the math, it would be an increase of about $3,122.69 a month, or $37,000 and some change per year. And this money is allocated only for stormwater uses. So we just had the stormwater at Center Street. We had some significant stormwater costs there. We've got the Getty Street costs. We've got the 4th Street costs. So this kind of what the stormwater utility is trying to do is to capture businesses and homes that have runoff and to help mitigate those. So that's what the purpose of that stormwater utility is. The ordinance is laid out for you in 761 if you choose to adopt it, which would make that change, after which then we would work with the public utility to get that into place by the 1st of the year for the billing because they collect with the utility bills for us. So we don't individually bill, it goes out with your electric bill, basically, so. Does anybody have any questions? Dave and Warren were on that committee. Warren is here tonight if you have any additional questions for the committee.
I'm just wondering if there's ever been any discussion or if anyone ever asks about ways that they can abate some of this through the use of rain gardens, perforated asphalt, et cetera.
You know, we did have that, you know, when we first adopted this, you know, we put that in there that they could come in and do that. But once we implemented it, nobody came in and we did have one, you know, at first when we started it, you know, there was some rough spots. People didn't quite understand how we calculated it, and we had to go back and recalculate a few because these calculations are done from aerials, and a dirt pile might have looked like asphalt, you know, from the air. And so we did do some recalculations on the commercial, but it really didn't have anybody, I mean, they asked, how do I get it down? And we would tell them, and they go, oh, okay, well, then they didn't proceed with it, so.
Okay. But that avenue is still open?
That avenue is still open for them, and we just haven't had any takers.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
The Center Street project, what we moved on last meeting, the difference was about 39,000, was that right? Between Schmidt Farms and?
Yes.
Okay. Does this number take into account any other stormwater fees that the city has decided to take on?
Well, this is for, when we set up the utility, we identified 3 trunk areas that this money could be spent on. And then also, it's for maintenance of the stormwater ponds themselves and the stormwater, whenever we have manholes and maintenance type things. So it really is 2 different parts. This money really won't go toward the Center Street because the Center Street bond is not a utility revenue bond. It's a special assessment bond. But this could be, you know, another trunk area that we designated in here would be up on the north end by Lake Street where it floods. That's the 3rd area. So when we embark on that process, these utility revenues could be allocated to that project.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
One of the issues, you know, stormwater's been a problem in Sauk Center for years. A lot of flooding, and we're slowly getting a handle on it. And even if you live at the top of a hill, I think paying the fee benefits you anyway, because eventually you're going to drive through that low spot where the water's standing, unless you stay home all the time when it's raining. It's going to eventually affect you. The stormwater ponds that we do have, the one out in the industrial park is a large holding pond, and it definitely needs to be cleaned, which it never has since day one. And our city engineers even looking at us like, you really want to take that cost on? The only way we're going to ever get enough money to do that is through this stormwater utility fee. That plus if at any point in time, you know, we need a jetter or anything like that, if we have the bank, you know, it's going to help us in the street department end of it too. So $1 a month, I don't know if it's a huge increase in anyone's budget. You know, personally, I don't think so.
I agree. I just wanted to say thank you for getting MnDOT to fix that one sewer cover up on 2nd and Main North.
We were going to leave it there for you.
That's a 4-inch drop. You hit that with a motorcycle at night, you're dead. I was glad they fixed that.
I'd like to take
Thank
credit,
you.
but I think some other people made that happen.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or any other questions on the stormwater utility rate as far as the increase?
There's only a percentage you can use for new project, I shouldn't say new, but replacement projects?
Well, at the time that we don't have a specific percentage laid out in the ordinance. We just identified the 3 projects that we could use it for.
So you could realistically use all of it for one project if...
You could if you didn't want to save any for maintenance.
Right.
Yeah.
Soften the blow, so to say, I suppose. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve ordinance 761, amending the stormwater utility rate?
I'll make the motion.
Make a motion by Diane. Do a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. Approve Resolution 2015-78, calling for a public hearing.
I'm going to have George come up and address this first because this talks about the hospital refunding bond, and he provided you a spreadsheet to show what we're planning to do or hope to do there.
Thank you, Vicki. Mayor, members of the City Council, there was a second spreadsheet or a handout that I placed in front of you this evening. It says Finance Plan Summary at the top. And actually, I'll just direct you to the very last page on this. This is just a summary of the estimated savings if the city were to refinance the existing 2005 general obligation hospital refunding bonds. This particular, the existing issue is $9,505,000 refunding bonds from 2005. It has reached its call date. That's the date when the city can consider prepaying or refinancing the bonds. Very similar to what action you just took last time I was at the podium. And for these particular bonds, there's the relationship, of course, between the city and Centricare. And so the action item relating to setting the public hearing, it's the affiliation of the city with the nonprofit entity Centricare that requires the need for a public hearing. As opposed to when you issued your last refunding bonds about 15 minutes ago, there was no public hearing requirement because that was entirely for city benefit, city-owned property, et cetera. So in this case, prior to the issuance of the bonds, there needs to be a public hearing. It's basically just so the city has the right to issue tax-exempt bonds. And this page that I referred you to is just an estimate of the approximate level of savings. The existing bonds have a remaining average interest rate of approximately 4.5%. And new bonds, based upon the current market, again, based upon your strong bond rating, and this length of bond issue are estimated at approximately 2.5%. So by dropping that interest rate approximately 2%, the overall savings is in that vicinity of $1.8 million over the remaining term of the bonds. You at the City Council and staff recognize that debt service on the existing bonds and your lease with the hospital, or your lease rather with Centricare, the lease is tied to debt service, so there'll be the need to amend that lease prior to the issuance of bonds. So I just wanted to step up and give a brief overview of this because calling for the public hearing, that would take place on November 18th in conjunction with that City Council meeting. And at that City Council meeting, after the public hearing is held, we should be able to actually have bonds that can be awarded at that same time. Again, as I referenced earlier, due to, we'll go through a bond rating call again, and then work on getting bond offering documents put together. And, by virtue of this being the third bond issue in a relatively short period of time, that can be accomplished in a short period. So actually, I don't have formal action for you other than, as Vicki referenced, to call for the public hearing. But mine is more of a presentation for informational purposes, but also, and Mayor, maybe this would be something for the council to consider as just a motion to direct Northland Securities to continue working with city staff on preparing and gathering the information necessary to get the hospital refunding bonds put together. So again, you're not issuing bonds tonight. It's approximately a month from now.
Questions? Self-explanatory. We're looking at saving $1.8 million by refinancing this. Thank you, George.
Thank you.
We have no questions. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2015-78, calling for a public hearing on hospital refunding bonds? And at the same time, I think we can include the authorized staff to keep working with Northland Securities.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Keith, second by Heidi. Any other questions or comments? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. Thank you. 7G has been removed. 7H, approve resolution 2015-80 authorizing execution of grant agreement.
Earlier this year, well, a couple months ago, the City Council approved moving forward with a grant agreement with FAA for the environmental assessment for future airport improvements. And this was approved and sent into the FAA, but the MnDOT Aeronautics side, the 5% side of it, had not come yet, and it finally showed up the other day. So we are asking the City Council tonight to approve the grant agreement with MnDOT Aeronautics. So that would be the 5% of the project. The FAA one you previously approved is 90% of the project, and then the local share or our share is 5%. And the total of the project cost is $89,000. After this is all done, then that sets us up to be ready to move forward next year with the runway improvements. So this is Resolution 2015-80 authorizing the execution of the grant agreement.
Comments? Questions? Keith, you're on the airport board.
Yeah, no, she pretty much explained everything.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2015-80 authorizing execution of grant agreement?
So moved.
Motion by Heidi,
I'll second.
second by Diane. Any other questions? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. Unfinished business, electric franchise fee.
When the Finance Committee met, they reviewed the gas franchise agreement, which calls for a 3% franchise fee on the retail sale of gas. At this time, that rate was then comparable to the electric franchise fee paid. Now, the difference is the electric franchise is not a percentage, it's a mill rate, so it's based on so much per mill or so much per kilowatt, which is 2 mills, which is 2/10 of a penny per kilowatt. So that's what it's set at right now. But consequently, as the rate per kilowatt goes up, you're still buying the same amount of kilowatts, so the franchise fee stays the same, so then the percentage gets skewed. So now, even though gas is still paying 3% of their retail sales, electrics now, because we're between 8 to 10 cents, has dropped to about 2.25%. So as you can see, if we're trying to we tied gas to electric at the time, at that point in time, but now that electric rates have gone up on a percentage basis, that percent has gone down. So if you can kind of see how we came at that. So the committee looked at, well, we could change to 3 mills instead of 2 mills, or we could just convert it to a percentage like the gas franchise is, so we don't have to address it each time there's an increase in the utility cost. So we haven't proceeded any farther than this, other than bringing it to the full council to see, would you like us to proceed with working on an amendment to the electric franchise? We meet with the public utility and run some more figures and get the exact rates and come back to you with some projections of what that might mean to the city. That was the recommendation of the Finance Committee, but does the full council agree that they want us to proceed that way? Or do you want to leave it alone the way it is? That's why we're in front of this body, because we actually are the governing body that, the public utility is our enterprise fund, so our component unit, I guess you would call it. So that's why we wanted to bring it to the full council.
Questions?
A percentage, would that have to be brought here every time it changes, or could that just change with the rate?
Well, if we set it at a certain percent of the retail sales, of the cost of the sale, or the value of the sale, then as the value went up and the rates went up, the percentage would be the same, but the amount would go up. And versus now, when it's based on the number of kilowatts, whether the kilowatt is $1 or $10, we still receive the same franchise fee. Mm-hmm. So.
And to make it, when we base the gas franchise fee, we based it on what the electric was paying at the time. And now the electric isn't keeping pace with the gas, so.
No.
To set it at a certain percentage, I think would work better.
I think so too, because
But if we authorize staff to proceed, there might be something that the PUC might have that we don't know about. And the only way we're gonna know that is if we talk to them about it, so that's the reason why it's here
that's why
tonight.
we're directing
Yeah.
staff
Yeah,
to
we'll be
proceed that way.
directing staff, because they might have a different idea on how to do this
Okay.
and. not affect-
This will not determine one way or the other how it is charged. This
No.
is just for
This is-
continuing the dialogue.
Right.
Correct, and we didn't want to, you had directed the Finance Committee to look at the gas franchise fee. We hadn't mentioned the electric franchise fee at the council level, and so that's why the committee wanted to bring it back here to get your blessing that we proceed with researching this.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think
So by general consent, we
Yeah.
authorize staff to proceed?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, thank you. We have no new business tonight. That takes us to our consent agenda. We have our schedule of claims, unpaid claims of $60,672.11, paid claims of $26,915 for a total of $87,587.11. February checks totaling $510,844.09. That shouldn't be February. That should be September, right?
Could be February.
Gambling application for exempt permit request from Sauk Center Lions Club for a raffle on February,
That is February.
that is February 24th, 2016. I thought you did it again. At Jitter's Java Cafe. And we also have a resolution number 2015-78, resolutions accepting contributions of $200 from Bolton and Mink to go toward the airport, and $10,000 from the Sauk Center Youth Hockey Association to go toward the arena. And on behalf of the city, I would like to thank those two organizations for their contribution. Is there any other questions or clarification with the consent agenda? If not, do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented?
So moved.
We have a motion by Heidi, second by Keith. Any other questions? Ask the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. We have no informational items. With that, that brings us to the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Heidi,
Second.
second by Diane. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. Meeting adjourned.